What's good? Yes, we're back. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, wow. The Instagram app was crashing and I was a bit stressed out, but we're good. We're good. Nothing like a little bit of technical difficulties just to keep you on your toes. But yay, it's all working out. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join. How's everyone doing? How's everyone feeling? I've just been sipping on my sparkling seltzer because I hate beer. So, you know. Yeah. I hope everyone got to check out the last IG live that Morena did, because that was fire. Everyone who was there, like, oh my gosh. I was just like, wow, the beauty and the truth that was being said in that video. Like, I was like tearing up a little bit, and I was like, oh my god, I have to do an interview right now. It's fine. More and I feel that, yes. We love a little bit of alcohol to get it going. Yeah. Cute. I might get this little thing started. So, welcome everyone. My name is Mouli. I am the other organizer for In Honor of Our Roots. My pronouns are she, her. So I actually got onto this project pretty recently. I joined about a month ago, but I've been going to In Honor of Our Roots for the last sort of year when I was at the Langston Hughes house. And it was such an amazing space for me to be in. Like, it was so, I think anyone who goes there can like understand what I'm saying. Like, when you go there, it's like this beautiful communal like vibe, and you know, everyone feels very like, I think, welcomed. Like, it was one of the first like organizing spaces where I felt like immediately welcomed as soon as I was there, and it was just like a beautiful night of like celebration. Yeah, it was just awesome for me to be a part of. So, you know, and I'm so honored to be organizing with them now. What? Shout out to Morena for asking me to be a part of this project. Yeah, and I am otherwise a student. I'm from Australia. So I'm a transplant to New York. Just want to acknowledge this is happening on Lenape land. I am personally from Kingsford in Australia, in Sydney, Gadigal country. So just acknowledging those roots and that I am a settler on this land. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I do some organizing work. I am primarily organizing in prison abolition at NYU. And yeah, I'm also an organizer for In Honor of Our Roots as well. So yeah, just in case you want at the last interview, a little bit of background on In Honor of Our Roots. We are a grassroots event series that provides a brave space for queer creators of color to delve into and share and document their coming to be or roots. So we host workshops, we host exhibitions, we have vendors, experimental performances that revolve around self-reflection themes to activate a queer imagination. So this is the second part of the Queer Imaginations Live. So that's the theme for today. But yeah, to activate a queer imagination that allows us to explore our potential, allows us to explore the potential for collective ancestry, as well as the spiritual autonomy of our communities. Because we understand that, you know, our roots aren't the same. And something that's really important, I think, for QT by POC communities is that we organize around difference. You know, like, shout out to Audre Lorde. You know, as she says, we're organizing around a house of difference. And part of that means that we have all these roots that are coming together. And then, like, when we're coming together, our ancestors are also in that room with us. So how do we engage with all the different people that are here, all the different ancestors that are in the room? And that's what we're trying to do through In Honor of Our Roots, to provide that kind of space for that to happen. So I'm so excited for you all to join us. This really means a lot. And yeah, so let's get this thing started. I want to invite Mujero to their name. Sorry, that was their Instagram name. Their actual name is Omar Abreu, to join the Instagram live. And while I wait, a little bit more on queer imagination. So something that's really integral to queer imagination is bridging the gap between the heavens and the earth, using art as prayer. So, really connecting the divine to the earth and bringing those two things together. It's imagining worlds beyond our own and understanding that we are composed of multiple spirits, multiple entities. So we are a plural I. And I'm also thinking of queer not just as an adjective, but queer as a verb. How do we queer imaginations? How do we imagine beyond the limits that we've imposed on ourselves today? Okay, without further ado, let's welcome Omar. Yes.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you? How's it going?
I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm just in my room. Yeah, just relaxing, listening to the great interview that was on before. Mimi was great.
Wasn't that fantastic?
It was fantastic, yeah.
It was just, I was feeling really moved by what they were saying, and also like the responses that Morena was giving. I felt very, it really made me want to feel like I want to start writing like right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this is so great to have you. Thank you for agreeing to be on this interview. I was wondering if you could give us like a little bit of info about yourself, name, pronouns, like what you do.
Sure. So my name is Omar Abreu. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm a Bronx-based artist. And yeah, I make a lot of work talking about queer Caribbean identity and sort of the ways that those two things are like linked together and like not torn apart, not these two separate things, but something that sort of is more of a like transformative experience than just these like polarizing identities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Oma works in like a number of different mediums, as you can see in the bio that we posted on our flyer. So correct me if I'm wrong, Oma, you do like sculpture, performance art, a little bit of digital work?
Yeah. I mean, I try, like, I don't know, I always hated this idea of like picking a medium or trying to like define what medium you're in, because I feel like just like with life, like you just pick up what you have and you just use it. Like whatever's around me, like if it's a camera or, if it's a sculpture and I just have things, like I just constantly just use what I have and the resources that I have around me to make what I need to make. So some of it's sculpture, some of it's digital, some of it's videos, some of it's performance, some of it's 2D. Like there's just like whatever best helps the idea is what I do.
Yeah, amazing. So to support the work that Omar is doing, please feel free to cash up them on, it's pinned in the comments there. It's really important to support our local artists, like more than ever, local queer artists of color, like seriously can't stress enough how important that is. With all that said, let's dive into the main bit of this interview. I feel like you actually already started to answer my question there, which is, I was going to ask you about like your artistic practice and like what significance the mediums that you work with hold for you. So I know you just said that like, I actually really resonate with that we shouldn't have to feel bounded to one specific medium. We should be able to like pastiche them and collage them however we would like to. If you could give me a bit more info about your artistic practice, and also do you feel called to any specific medium or like, I guess, any specific thing right now?
Yeah. Well, my practice, I mean, it really depends. Recently, or for a while, I've been thinking a lot about sort of like deconstructing masculinity and identity by like using these torn up Jordans and using the torn up tank top and like these torn up basketball shorts and like all those things that were sort of ascribed to me, that like this is what it means to be myself or what I'm supposed to be, sort of like taking it apart and turning it into something that better suits who I am. So I love using clothes. I love using what I have. I love
Mm.
using, a lot of my sculptures, like it's like a sculpture that like I just remix into another sculpture that I remix into another sculpture.
Mm.
Uh, the performances too. It's sort of just like, okay, all I have is my body. Like, what can I do with this? Like, what idea can I communicate? Um, so
Yeah.
really, it really just depends on the idea and like what I think would best work with what I have, and like really believing in the fact that like by remixing and taking all these things and taking all these everyday objects, we're able to actually make something really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the use of the word remix in this context and like repurposing. I actually like there's this book called I can't remember exactly what it's called, like Fabulousness by Madison Moore, or like The Art of Being Fabulous. And like, something that he talks about is how queer and trans people of color tend to like fashion becomes like an artwork, and it's not just about like having money to spend on fashion, but also like using the materials that you have around you to create fashion.
Yeah.
And that's the look, like you create the look by what you have. It's this like sort of resourcefulness that queer and trans colored artists have always like had to do.
Exactly. And like I feel, especially since I'm in art school right now. And there's all these pressure to create like these finished works that are like done, sellable.
Right.
But like that's just never how life was for me. Like it's like growing up in a Caribbean household and being in like queer community, like it's always just been like you just take and you just reuse it and you just make it again, and you get like every use out of everything you have. Like you get everything.
Yes.
Every like if you have like I don't know, like something of paint, like you make that paint turn into everything, into whatever you can, because that's just what we have. So yeah, I try to push away from like making finished work or like it has to be perfect or it has to be done. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I take all photos of my work, but I'm like, you're probably going to see the sculpture again and it's going to look completely different and it's the same sculpture. Or it's the same things. Or maybe it has like one thing different. Or maybe now I'm performing with it and now it's a performance and not just a sculpture, So yeah, I'm like against this idea of having to just create these like independent individual works. Like things should be you should be growing, you should be remixing, you should be acknowledging your past as much as you're creating the future. Like you have to
Wow, yes. Yeah, and like right, and like time isn't real, so as we're creating the past, we're also like as we're calling on the past, we're creating those futures. And I just really believe that the process is sacred, right? Like the process is like fucking sacred, and we have to acknowledge how that art feels to make, not just what that finished product looks like, right? Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was really lovely. So bringing me to my next question is, as a queer individual, like how do you engage with your Caribbeanness? I think you mentioned in your bio that like what you're interested in is reconstructing Caribbean experience. So yeah, like how do you engage with both? Like how do you navigate both your queerness and your Caribbeanness as like an intertwined entity?
Right. I mean, it's weird because to a certain extent, like they just are the same. Like I think the issue is that I was taught that it's different. That there's like things that they're opposing and they're supposed to like grind up against each other. But that doesn't really make sense because I'm in my body. Am I not in my body right now? Like living this experience? Like who is telling me that I have to? So it's like, it's weird because I have to deal with this outside idea of like what I'm supposed to be in like those two fractions. And then like me living, which is those two being so together that like, where does the queerness end and the Caribbean start? Like, it's not.
Yes. Wow.
There's no, like, there is no, like, I reject this idea that, like, these are just two different things that I have to, like, compartmentalize. So, it's mostly, and a lot of my art is, like, trying to show that. It's trying to show, like, what images could we make that show these two things together in a way you can't have one without the other, but it's clearly both. So, like, I don't know, like it's like this weird back and forth, because there's definitely like forces around me that are like, no, like you're queer and then you're Dominican, and it's just like two things don't go together.
Right.
But they obviously have, because I'm here. Am I not alive? So I don't know. I don't know if that fully answered your question, but
no, that was really great. I loved everything you said, and I think it's really hard because, you know, I think in a lot of like 4 different communities of color, and to acknowledge that it's different for different communities of color, it's like, I think we're taught to that claiming our community, like our racial or ethnic community, means that we have to like suppress like queerness, you know, because it's a threat to us being able to be seen in this, like, you know, to be able to be like part of this like normative society.
Yeah.
And I think like so much of the time it's like our communities, in order to survive, we desire that norm, but queer can never be normal, right? Like queer is always like antithetical to normal. And to then claim both parts of like both our like, you know, our racial or ethnic identity, and to claim that queerness is like a mind fuck, I think, sometimes. And yeah, so I really appreciate everything you said. Like, yeah, like how can we be anything other than the body that we're in? That was such a beautiful way of expressing that. You know, so I'm interested in like wondering like given what you work in, given the questions that you're grappling, what would you like, and given the moment that we're in, like what would you like want to push queerdos to imagine? What would you want society to imagine?
I love that question so much. I love queerdo so much. Like, so good. I mean, I definitely want a push to imagine, like, what images, like, if you could, like, live fully whole in the world, like, if this racist, white supremacist, sexist, heteronormative, cis-normative society fell out, what would art that looks like us be? Like, how intricate would it be? Like, how nuanced would it be? Like, how would it really look like? Because I think there's a lot of pressure to push to, like, pick one or the other. The white gays are like, no, you can't bring that. Like, you can't bring that shit here. And then you go into, like, conservative circles of color, and it's like, no, you can't bring that gay shit here. So it's like, what would we be making if we were just able to be whole, like fully whole, like not to explain anything to anybody, not have to provide context, not have to be like do all of this frilly shit to make all these other institutions understand what we're doing? Like, what would the work that is fully ourselves look like? And to really push to go to that place instead of dwelling on every stumbling block that's like trying to get us to explain or to be something else in order for our art to be understood to like a wider audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what would it mean to not have to be legible, you know, to this wider audience? What would it mean to create a utopia for us, you know? Yeah, thank you. That was a wonderful answer. And I think that this might also tie into like, I'm also seeing a lot of affirmations from the crowd. Yes. Let's just acknowledge these. Yeah. People are really vibing with what you're saying, Omar. Yeah, and I noticed that Morena said something before about your point about mediums, that I identify with my message, not my medium.
Yeah.
So, yes. Yeah. Wow. Yes. Cool. Well, this last question is, you know, and perhaps a segue from the question that I asked before that, which is, how does spirituality show up in your art? Like, do you consider yourself a spiritual person? Like, what is the spirituality that you practice? How do you see art fitting into that?
I definitely view myself as a spiritual person. I have a long history with like spirituality, starting out with like a more toxic Christianity. It's also wild they say you're from Sydney. I lived in Sydney for a year. So, but
Really?
it was the whole thing. Like, I can't even begin to tell you.
Oh my god, this is some like maybe off record like conversation.
I was like on some other shit, but
Wow.
I had this conversation some other time. But so I have a long history with it, so it's definitely something that I think inevitably bleeds into the work. Like, I don't think I necessarily try for my art to be spiritual, but just because it's something that I've wrestled with for such a long time, it sort of just shows up. And I think that's how our art should be, and that's how you should approach spirituality in your art. Like, it's part of your life, so it's going to show up in the work. Which is funny because sometimes I'm not even thinking about it, and people will look at the work and they're like, oh, this has like such a spiritual undertone. This feels like a sermon, da-da-da-da. And I was like, I'm not trying to do anything. Like, I just do what I think is best for... I make this assemblage with whatever the spirit tells me to put together, or whatever I feel the spirit to put together, and then that's what exists. So I think that's where it pulls up. I mean, I think about, or I pray to my ancestors a lot. I'm very big on, I don't know if it's like the Scorpio moon, but I'm really big on like the past and like spirituality. Like, it's just all of those things.
Yeah.
No, I just like to believe that there's a sort of force that's grounded in the survival of the people who have gone before me, that I'm able to tap into. And I think that's also maybe why, just reflecting now, like why my work is always so taking of everything and just putting it together and transforming it and changing it, because I want like all that abundance. Like, I think about the abundance of the universe. I think about the abundance of the wisdom of our ancestors, the wisdom of people who have come before us, who shaped this world for us, who have given us the tools to survive within us. Like, we're just born because with it inside of us. Like, I want all of that sort of reflected in. How do you take all of that and put it in an object? Like, you literally...
Yeah, right.
You can't, but you kind of just do. Like, you just have to. Like, it's not something... I feel like it's really hard to force, but once you know when it's present, like, you know when it's there, you know when it's happening, like, you feel that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I consider myself a spiritual person, and I have my spiritual practices, I have my prayer, and I don't know, it just sort of shows up in the work.
Yeah.
It just becomes part of it. The way the work always becomes part of everything.
Yes. Oh, wow. I literally got like chills when you were saying that bit about like, you know, sometimes like when you know they're speaking to you, like it just shows up. That's really, really validating too, because I feel like I've also had a similarly like very long journey with spirituality. I grew up like essentially an atheist, and now I'm like coming to spirituality, which is really wild for me. Like, you know, do you find that like intuition plays a lot into your artistic practice? Because that's what the word that came up for me when you were talking about like, you know, this spiritual intuition that like maybe you're not trying to put it in, but it like comes out inevitably anyway.
Yeah. It's something you tap into, something you cultivate. There's this really, even though I have trouble with this word now, there's this really good intuition episode on this podcast called Latino USA. And talking about like how intuition is sort of imbued in the lives of people of color, and how it's always been like the survival tactic. Like, even when I think about my mother and my aunts and mostly the women in my family, it's been that like feeling that like, oh, I don't know, or I don't know if you should do this. Yes, you should go for it. And it's this idea that we're being guided by this energy. I mean, I don't know, it doesn't make the work easier, but it brings the ease in the decision to work hard for what you're doing. Like, you're just like, oh, I know I'm supposed to be doing this, and I know I'm supposed to be going hard for this. Which, honestly, I don't know how people do it without that shit. Like, whenever I hear people and they talk, and their work is completely devoid of an intuitive, like, spirit, I'm just like, how are you even making? Like, what's driving you? Like, what's the point? Like,
right. And it's like art has become such a professionalizing thing that sometimes I feel like I see that. It's like, you see at art school how it's just like this technique, and it's like devoid of that like soul or like the heart to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's about how the work is photographed. It's about your website. It's about how clean everything is. It's about this, and that. And then there's this like lack of depth in the work. That doesn't come from sort of following that intuition, which is why, I mean, the fact that I'm even here calling myself an artist is wild. Like, wow. When you think about like what it means to grow up and like the limitations that exist for queer people of color, especially for me, I grew up in the Bronx. Like, there were no artists like in my family that I knew. Like, it was literally just the fact that I kept feeling like I had nothing else to do but be creative. And that intuition, like that, have that sense that like I still know I have to do this. It's incredibly lucky, but it's also because I know I'm being supported by people who have done before me who have chosen to follow that before, and now and because of that, I'm able to do that now. And it's, I don't know how other people do it, but
yeah, absolutely. Wow, thank you. I'm really like meditating like on these words that you said. Like it's all like it's giving me so much food for thought. So we're actually going to open it up to our audience right now. If anyone has any questions, like please drop it in the comments. I'm going to take this moment to also once again shout out to everyone that's here, and also please support Omar through Cash App. It's pinned in the comments. Again, so important to support our local queer artists of color. So give them your coin, please. Yes. But yeah, let's bring some questions into the house. Yeah. While I
question, just ask. It's all right.
Yeah. While we're waiting, how are you doing? Like, how have things been? Are you still in I assume you're still in New York, right?
I'm still in New York. I'm still at the new school. I'm actually about to move back to the Bronx for the summer. But I'm doing all right. I mean, as okay as you can be during, a global pandemic. But there's a video project that I've worked on for a really long time that I haven't felt like I could finish it properly. But I'm starting to get that feeling that's like, oh, this is about to be done. Like, this is something I could start wrapping up.
Wow, yes. Exciting.
So, which is such an exciting feeling. Like, especially when, like, put something on the back burner for so long, and then you just have that, like, gut feeling. It's like, oh, it's time to, like, realize this.
Yes.
It's so fulfilling, especially because you go through all this doubt. You go through this, am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? But really, I'm sorry. I got distracted by the questions. There were some questions.
Yes. I got the same thing too. And I'm cool to read them out, I guess, if you would like to just dive into those questions.
Sure.
So we have a comment from, I really apologize, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, I.LL or ill scratch. Apologies if I said that wrong. So they said, love what you're saying. Creativity is sacred. Do you feel like school has helped you be more creative, or is it more of a barrier to overcome to make art?
I feel lucky in the sense that I came in knowing there was going to be bullshit.
Right.
Like, I came in just knowing that's just what the environment's going to be. So I came in knowing that I have to take everything. I can't take anything to heart. I know they're going to ask for context. They're going to ask for all of these things that none of my other classmates have to answer to. So I came in knowing that, like, I'm here to do the work and get the resources and do that. And if what you say actually applies to me, then I'll listen to it.
Right.
But I'm not going to take these white professors as gospel. Like, I'm not going to do it. So I just I think that's the best way. I think you could, if you do get into art school, and also, like, don't die for art school. Like, it's not, like, the end of the world. Many artists don't go to art school. I was very lucky in the fact that I got a scholarship, which is the only reason I'm here, is because there's someone up there and they either paying for it. If not, I would not be doing this. But if you have the opportunity, you can use it for good. But know that these institutions aren't built to support us. They're built to just sort of be this neutral space.
Neutral, yeah. All the quotations.
But they're not committed to sort of changing the issues that are happening to us. They're committed to just providing the facilities and making sure you show up to things and telling you who to read and shit like that. So it could stifle your creativity. But if you come in with the right mindset, if you come in just like...
Right. Like, let me, yeah, right.
Like, you know what you're there for, then it could be good. But don't go if you don't know. Don't be like, should I just go to art? That's what white people do, and they make the shittiest work. And don't be like, should I just go to art school just because it sounds fun, because I want to be cute, because I want to go to art school, because, I don't know, you saw some movie and you want to... Don't do that. If look at the school, look at the places, you're better off like going to a residency, and that's what people keep telling me. It's like you're better off creating community, doing the events yourself, like building that sort of circle and network there instead of like trying to just like punch the institutions. Like if it's not working for you, then don't do it. Then don't go. That's it. Okay.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Oof, so much to think about. And yeah, I feel like a lot about these, like, a lot about being at like institutions like New School, like NYU, is just the strategy of it. We have to figure out how we take the resources and redistribute those resources. Like, what's the ultimate, what's the end point? Because it's not being here. Yeah. Okay, cool. So Morena asks, where plans do you have? I think this question is asking like, what plans do you have for your work during and post-pandemic, or where these plans are taking you?
I mean, during the pandemic, I haven't done a lot more just because, I mean, this is part of my practice too, like taking care of your body and just taking care of your mental health and making sure you're good. Is part of the art. Like, I can't be making good art if I'm not good. Like, I'm just like, it's not happening. So it's mostly just been honestly self-care. But I recently the school gave me a laptop because I did not have one for like a year and a half.
Wow.
College things. And now I'm able to finish that video, which I was talking about earlier, which I'm just so excited to finish. It's a poem. It started on a poem based on queer Caribbean experience. And sort of what it felt like, and like feeling both torn and whole at the same time when I think about it. So just meditating on that, and I'm really excited to release it and finish it. And hopefully it's out because it's about to be Gemini season, so I'm probably going to release it during Gemini season because I'm a Gemini.
Yes!
And Anushka just pulled up.
Also, it's crazy that like you and Mimi are both Geminis, and we just picked two Geminis for this call. Like, what? The Gemini agenda. Anyways.
Strong.
Wow, yes. I feel you on the not being able to work during the pandemic. It's also like we have no obligations. We don't have any obligations to anyone. Yeah. Cool. So another couple of questions that I have are, what are you majoring in at school? And I'm just going to ask the other question because it's also school related. Was your scholarship merit-based or FAFSA? If you feel comfortable answering. Any tips for people who don't qualify for scholarships or aids?
So first question, I major in fine arts. And there's no medium focus at Parsons. You just take classes in whatever you want to take. So I do that. And then I have a mix of FAFSA I have the TAP award if you're a New York City resident or New York State resident. And then I have a need-based and 2 merit-based scholarships. So when I first got into the school, I was $20,000 short of being able to go. Because I'm not doing that. It's just unviable. Like, my parents were literally like, it's either it's a full ride or you don't go. So I talked to the dean of the program I was applying for, and I was essentially like, look, here's the thing. You really have to scam them. I'm going to just say it. You have to scam them. Like,
right.
Money, it's sitting right there, and they don't touch it until someone adds some fire under their ass, because they just don't expect you to do it. They don't expect these 18-year-olds to, like, email and ask for more money. So I went up to her during Admitted Students Day, and I was like, oh, I mean, I'm trying to go here, but I don't know. SAIC gave me more money. And did SAIC give me more money? No. But it doesn't matter now, does it? So I was able to... She was like, okay, I'll see what I can do. And she met my need. So really, really you have to really know your worth as an artist. Like, I went going like, you're missing out because you don't have me in your institution. And that would be your outlook. Like, you are not begging the school to give you this, and that. No, that worth comes from within. You come into this space and you say, listen, y'all should be doing 10 times as much as you're doing to have me in your school, to keep me in your school, to make me supported. And that is, especially as sort of queer artists of color that like to just sort of be sprinkled in and not be supported and just for the look. Like, you really have to push these institutions to do that because they have it. And if they're not giving it to you, then it's not worth it. Then don't settle for their scraps. Do not settle for these institution scraps. Like, you fight for what is yours.
Thank you so much. That was really so important for you to say, and I'm sure so important for our viewers to hear. I definitely think it's easy that for like these institutions to make us feel like we need to rely on them to make something out of ourselves, and we don't. And we have to know how to advocate for ourselves, I think, and I think that can be challenging too. Yep. And as you said, that comes from within, and really backing yourself that your art is. Yes, need to advocate. Fuck Jasmine says, need to advocate for myself. Thank you, Omar. But yeah, no, thank you for that message. That was really so powerful and meaningful. I just wanted to read out like one more comment, but I think we're good on questions. So Luis Cuesta says, speaking on the thought of Caribbeanness as different from queerness, I don't think that's possible considering that queerness goes against normalcy, which at the end of the day is defined by Western. Yes, 100% yes to all of that. I feel like that's what Omar was saying before. Like, what is normal? Like, that is a construction. And we were never meant to be in their normal, you know?
Like, who made that and for what? And it's,
Yeah. So, queer, let's go queers, let's go weirdos, queerdos.
I love that. I love that.
Yes. Okay. Well, we're about to wrap up this interview. So I just want to say thank you, Omar, so much. That was like such a powerful interview, and I'm so glad you were able to join us. Once again, please support them on Cash App. It's pinned at the bottom. Please give them your coin. And before we end, I just wanted to ask, where can we follow you? What other projects should we keep an eye out for? Is there anything you want to plug?
Just my Instagram. It's Mujero. It's right there. Give it a follow. I post everything there. And hopefully I'll have something ready in a couple weeks. Y'all are blessed.
Okay. Cool. Thank you again, Oma. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for bringing your questions, for your love. This brings us to the end of the Queer Imaginations Live. Thank you, everyone who is here. To everyone who was here with us for both of them or for one or the other, we appreciate it so much. And stay tuned for more to come from In Honor of Our Roots. We've got more in store for you. So, goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, Oma.
Bye. It was so nice. And thank you so much for this. This is so great.